Chris Watkin here, and I'm joined by Russell Quirk, and we're here to talk about, have Purplebricks changed since the Bruces left? Talk to me.
Yes, I mean, absolutely, fundamentally, completely. That business, as I understand it, and look, talking to a lot of people on the ground, a lot of people that were in the business, are now in the business, you know, people at a senior level and otherwise. When Michael and Kenny ran that business, it had culture. It no longer has that. And of course, now that it's a listed business, which, okay, it was under Michael and Kenny for, you know, a little while, but now it's become, I guess, a corporate with a corporate CEO, you know, Vic Darvey, ex-Money Supermarket. It's not only lost its culture, but I think it's certainly lost its way in terms of, you know, what it set out to be. You know, lots of things have changed, of course. You know, they've now gone from this self-employed model to an employed model. Some would say that that's been enforced by HMRC, saying, hang on, these guys aren't self-employed at all. That's, I guess, a debatable point, they would perhaps argue. So the business has changed a lot. And I think there are actually two reasons. One is, of course, the founders, the entrepreneurs, as they are, in Michael and Kenny, are no longer in that business, running it, influencing it, and being respected, as they certainly were.
So a lot of people said it was like a big family.
Yeah. And you hear lots of stories about Michael and Kenny looking after people, you know, you know, and I don't know Vic Darvey, but I don't get the feeling that he's the same kind of approachable, warm and cuddly individual. But herein lies the second thing. The problem for Purplebricks, and this is the same as Foxtons and the same as many other businesses, as I've written about actually, that the businesses in the property industry that struggle are generally those that have at the top of the business people that do not have property experience. So Vic Darvey, you know, he might have a financial services background because obviously he was at Money Supermarket, as I say, a comparison website. What does he know about the property industry? Now, you might say, well, what does he need to know about the property?
No.
How difficult is it?
I think Richard Branson doesn't know how to drive airplanes and drive trains, does he?
No, but he learnt very quickly. You know, before that business scaled and got to a scale that perhaps is equivalent to what Purplebricks is now in the industry, Richard Branson would have known that business inside out, wouldn't he? Vic Darvey's been kind of parachuted in to kind of keep his hand on the tiller and kind of keep the thing steady. He's then had a few things thrown at him around the HMRC thing, as we've said. Then the discovery that the lettings business, of course, which was never particularly successful, it seems, but has got all sorts of compliance issues and people leaving, like Helen Ogden has obviously just left as a consequence of some of the revelations around the letting side of the business. And I think that's where the experience is important, and especially against a backdrop of things like COVID, where the industry, every industry, has been hit with uncertain, turbulent times. If you don't understand the fundamentals of the industry that you're in, the sector, and the idiosyncrasies, the ins and outs, and how to kind of pivot, how to kind of, you know, solve issues that come up unexpectedly in the sector, then you're at a distinct disadvantage. And I think we've seen that with Purplebricks. Share price today, I think, is about 27p. At its peak, under Michael and Kenny, it was over £5. I mean, that business was worth £1.2 billion at one stage. It's now worth about 100 million quid. But you can say exactly the same as Foxtons. And you know, I know we want to talk about Foxtons in another video, but there is a fundamental similarity between those two businesses in that, whereas I wouldn't go as far as saying those people at the top don't know what they're doing, they don't know the property sector. I think there's a naivety that you can come into the property industry and run a big business like Foxtons with 50 branches, or Purplebricks with 600 LPEs and 6,000 listings a month. And it's a spreadsheet job, you know, and you can get by running the business without having any flavour of the industry, without having any insight, without having any relationships, and it's simply not true. The reason Connells do so fundamentally well and LSL do so fundamentally well is because the people running those businesses are dyed-in-the-wool, experienced, proper property people.
Can't say much more than that.
In my opinion. But the facts speak for themselves, I think. You know, would Purplebricks be in the hot water they're in now over lettings if someone running that business knew the lettings business? Well, no, they wouldn't, would they? Because they wouldn't have not been doing what they should have been in terms of notification to clients around deposits and so on. Someone at the top would have said, you are making sure we're compliant on deposits, aren't you? But Vic Darvey, bless him, how on earth would he possibly know a year ago, 2 years ago, what the legislation is at every level within the property industry?
Well, that should have been their compliance officer.
Well, that was Helen Ogden, but if you don't know the business, you hire people, you're not going to ask the right
Okay,
question.
but then the issue goes back before Helen, though, doesn't it?
I don't know where it goes back to. Who knows? But all I think is fair to say is that business now, the Purplebricks business since Michael and Kenny left, has been absolutely battered. And not just from a share price perspective, but their PR. I mean, they've been under the cosh insofar as negative PR more than any other business that I can remember, and it looks like it's going to continue.
What would you do if you were running Purplebricks?
I'd change the charging model. I'd turn them into a regular estate agent. So you've still got the brand, which is now, a household name.
It is a household name. I mean, they don't. I haven't seen a TV advert for them, but they're still bringing in a decent market share.
They seem to have backed off their marketing spend. That's maybe because they need to somehow placate the city. That when their next set of results come out, if revenue's dropped, if they can somehow mitigate that in terms of their bottom line by turning off some of their marketing. That, of course, has implications in 6 to 12 months' time when that momentum has stopped, and perhaps then that's an even bigger problem. But what would I do? I would take the base business as it is, which I think is very sound in terms of some really great people, great systems, and a fantastic name as a brand, and I'd start charging a contingency percentage fee on completion. Shock horror. Why not? I mean, there's a cash flow gap that they'd have to get round, because that means if you turn the tap off all of the upfront money, then for a period of time you're not going to have that income coming in until the deals that you list today sell and complete. So you've got a 6-month gap. But imagine if they can get that right in terms of the messaging, given the brand that they've already got, and they can start banking, what's the UK average fee now? £3,500 to £4,000 a pop. Well, that increases their revenue per unit by 3x. You could argue, yeah, but actually then they're going to see a reduction in volume. But I'm not sure they're going to see a commensurate reduction in volume of 3x versus the 3x increase in their income. I think that's what they need to do. And I would suggest that because of the head start they've got with brand and people and systems and processes and so on, that they'd actually, they would still endear themselves to the public on the basis that all of a sudden then they're an agent that's free to list. Only pay us if you sell.
Decent brand, decent LPEs.
Yeah, that's
decent
what I do.
systems.
That's what I do. But that would take some big balls to do that, frankly. And then I know we're going to talk about strike, aren't we?
We are in a separate video. Just for the record, I've asked Vic Darvey and their marketing team at Purplebricks 3 times in the last 18 months if he wanted to be interviewed on the Watkinsofa, and all times been politely declined. So
And why is that?
don't know.
You don't get any hint of an explanation.
I mean, we're going to talk about it in a separate video, but talking about CEOs and being anonymous.
Yeah, but to me, I mean, yeah.
They're in a people business, surely.
It's a man that doesn't know his brief. Why would he be worried? I mean, look, scary interviewer as you are, you are the Paxman equivalent of property interviewers. But notwithstanding that aside.
But I've never. I mean, I've interviewed you previously when we were in London and on some quite controversial topics, and I always give people the opportunity to take stuff out. I'll always take it to the line, but I'll never ever step.
Yeah. And whenever I ever ask you to take anything out.
No, you never have done.
No, exactly. So if you're the CEO of a business, particularly a listed business, this is a public listed, the clue's in the name, right? It's a publicly listed business. You have an obligation to talk to people about your business, because, you've got whatever they've got now, Purple, it's 2,000 staff, however many customers, and of course lots of investors, not just institutional investors, they've got retail investors within that business, people that are buying a few shares here and there. How on earth can the CEO justify being silent? I mean, I've never seen an interview with him, either a written interview, I've never seen him interviewed on camera, on the radio, in a podcast. I think that's absolutely unforgivable.
Vic, if you're watching, the invite is there. Please do reach out. Russell, thank you for your time today.